it seems like, so unbelievers, at first they're borrowing capital, moral capital from Christians and the Christian worldview, and they're also borrowing and borrow. We're being charitable there because the actual word would be stealing,
We're
right?
stealing it.
They're
Yeah.
stealing from Christ, not but they're stealing from Christians and moral capital, but they're stealing from Christ his principles, right? They want the principles of Christ without the person of Christ, but they're using these principles because they work. We live in God's world. God has rules for His world. And God will not be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. And so non-Christians do that, but then eventually you said, that they become more and more consistent with their actual worldview, which, of course, when you become consistent with a worldview that is antithetical to Christ, then the result is chaos. My question is, within the post-mill framework, things, yes, I understand your point. It's going to be slow, right? It could be a few thousand years. It could be 20, 30, 40,000 years. Who knows? But it seems like, on one hand, I feel like, Christ is defeating his enemies one by one. That's another thing that was convincing for me, because pre-mill, it seems like the first enemy for Christ to defeat is death, whereas the Bible says that, the last enemy is death. And so I see Christ defeating his enemies now, but then there's certain enemies where I'm like, I felt like that one was defeated. Like, how many times do we have to try socialism until that enemy is defeated? You know what I mean? Like, so my question is, throughout the last 2,000 years, since the life, death, resurrection, and ascension of Christ and the fall of the ending of the old covenant, the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, would you say that there are some big worldviews, just demonic, horrible worldviews that really have been laid to rest, that aren't going to resurrect and come back, and we have to learn that lesson again? Are we progressing?
Well, again, I think when you think about, you got the majority of Christians send their children to government schools.
Right.
What do you expect? I mean, be like, oh, let's send our children to the Roman schools, or let's send our children to Daniel and his three friends. They were captives. They had to be there. So
and
you
adults.
Can't use that as an example.
Right.
And I know there are some schools that are better than others and so forth and so on, but there is no school out there, there's no public school out there that's teaching biblical world and life view Christianity. And there are lots of Christian schools that aren't teaching biblical world and life view Christianity. Right. So there just needs to be and I don't know if it's going to come by way, we finally get kicked in the head. And Gary North has this analogy that Ray Sutton said, that there are all these medicines in the medicine cabinet, and for every time there's an illness, they go and they pick one of these remedies, and it doesn't work. And the next time they get ill, they pick another, it doesn't work. Then they pick another, and it doesn't work. And finally, the last one in there is a Christian worldview, because they've exhausted all the other ones. Now, I don't want that to be. It doesn't have to be that way. I'm beginning to see a lot of change out there. There are lots of Christians out there who are catching on to this. I mean, when I was a Christian, no one was talking. I mean, Francis Schaeffer was talking Christian worldview, but his was more of a kind of a philosophical, historical dynamic of that worldview. But you got to talk to a lot of Christians today. They have no idea who Francis Schaeffer is. They just don't, because I think one of the reasons is that Francis Schaeffer didn't offer an alternative. He didn't offer specifics about here's what we need to do. He was premillennial, so his eschatology held him back. He was somewhat Van Tillian in his view. That's why he mentions presuppositions and so forth. But he just couldn't, and his son apostatized. His son's he's just going way off the deep end, Frankie Schaeffer. So, but things we have very few Christian defense foundations out there. You got Liberty Counsel, you have Alliance Defending Freedom. There are about 6 of them out there that are defending Christians in court, winning lots of cases. Christian school movement is growing. It's been because of COVID, it's growing even more.
COVID helped, yeah.
There's a lot of good curriculum out there on this. Podcasts like yours, podcasts like mine, what Jeff Durbin and those guys are doing. cross-politic guys and what they're doing. There's good discussion on Facebook on all of these different topics. I mean, somebody posts something, and I'll see these comments, and I think, wow, I have no idea who this guy is, but this guy's right on the money. And my wife and I went to it's called the Pregnancy Center. It's north of here in Jasper, Georgia, and a good friend of ours runs it. And it not only does it talk about abortion, but it's not just a negative approach, like don't get an abortion. It's we will help you with your child. You decide to keep your child, we will help you. They have a place for them to come in with clothes. They can take courses. They work with them, and so forth and so on. And it was at their last banquet, my wife and I were sitting down, and there was this young couple, and I forgot they asked me what I did, and I told them what I did. And they said, oh, we really like George Grant and Greg Bahnsen. Now, they didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who they were, but they knew George Grant and Greg Bahnsen. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, where did they find out about this? So there's a lot. It's going to take time. There's a new day. Eschatology is big right now. Amillennialists, historicists, amillennialists, and premillennialists don't have any real answers. Mm-hmm. They're still debating their position against preterists who essentially wiped the floor with their exegesis. I mean, somebody sent a video of a guy who used to be a Christian, and one of the reasons he left Christianity was he said, "Oh, Jesus predicted that the end, right. that the world was going to end
this generation
within
will
his
not
generation."
pass away.
And I'm thinking, this is a seemingly intelligent guy. He doesn't have a clue. When Doug Wilson debated Christopher Hitchens brought up Matthew 24, and in 90 seconds, Doug Wilson shut him down. Mm-hmm. And so when I started in this, when I used to do radio shows, the attacks I got, which didn't bother me. Now, if I do a radio show, 80% of the people say, "Yeah, Gary, I believe the way you do. I did this study on my own, or I read your book," and so forth. There's been a sea change of this. The guy on Gab, I don't know if you're on Gab at all.
No.
But this guy, which is kind of an alternative to YouTube or Twitter, I think it's.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Gab. I'm not on it, but yeah.
Yeah, he loves David Chilton.
Huh, really?
He pushed my book, Wars and Rumors of Wars, gave us a $500 credit to advertise on Gab.
Wow.
So there's a lot going on out there that a lot of us don't know about. The internet's made it possible I can send PDFs all around the world. I don't have to, a lot of people can't buy books because it's too expensive. People are translating stuff all the time. So we're just at the beginning, I think, of a paradigm shift, and Christians who don't get on the train are going to be their view is going to be left behind, which is okay by me.
Left behind, but
yeah,
their view will truly be left behind. Wait, real quick before you go, do me a favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell so you'll be notified with all our new content as it comes out on a daily basis. And if you're willing to support this ministry, you can do so by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Thanks so much. God bless.